So I'm Josefina Lindblom, and I work at the European Commission, DG Environment. And I visited you probably at your last meeting in October last year in Malmö. Now I have the pleasure to be back. And I hope that I managed to get this right. Okay, let's see. I'm very happy to be here with you again, even if it's a bit of a different format this time. But I would like to share with you a little bit of what has happened since we last met. So first of all, levels has been tested, and we got the feedback, and we have been analyzing the feedback since I saw you last. We've had a consultation on the way that we propose to move forward. We had a conference in February. That was one of the last things that happened before everything closed down. And we are now busy finalizing and pulling everything together from that feedback and how we can use that to finalize levels into as a useful and robust tool as possible. And we look forward to publish levels by the end of September. That's the idea. Let's see if I can get this working. Today, I will be saying a little bit about what that levels development has meant in the last couple of months. I want to share some major EU overarching policies which are of direct relevance to the built environment, and some more specific EU initiatives as well. And then I'd like to encourage you to support us in greening the Green Deal. So just to say that levels has not changed dramatically in the sense of the indicators and so on based on the feedback from the test phase. It is rather how we present levels which has changed, and also, very importantly, the three levels that we are presenting. We're still working with three levels, but they will be representing different things than what they used to do in the beta version. So now it follows really the different building project stages. So level 1 is concept stage, where we work with the indicators in a qualitative way. Level 2 is the design and construction phase, which is then about using the indicators in a quantitative way. And level 3 is the real building, the reality. So there you will be able to use monitoring to follow that. Moreover, we will be starting 2 work streams later on this autumn, once levels is published, where we will take about a year or so to develop 2 different web-based supporting tools. So one will be a web-based tool to calculate and assess the indicators. A little bit like, for those of you who took part in the testing, there was this famous Excel sheet which helped you to pull the data together and support you in the calculations of the indicators. This will now be based on a web-based tool. And we will also develop a training material, how to work with that web-based tool. So those work streams will start in autumn as well. And they will not be ready in September then for the launch of levels, but about 1 year later. I also wanted to show you a little bit of the overarching policy, the narrative that we are basing ourselves in or on right now. In December last year, the European Green Deal was published or adopted, and it is a broad document which sets out how Europe is striving to be the first climate neutral continent. It goes in many different directions. It certainly pays a lot of attention to circularity, etc., life cycle performance. It announces different initiatives that will happen. It announced the Circular Economy Action Plan, which is the follow-up of the previous Circular Economy Action Plan. Now, this new one came out in March this year, and it talks about circularity in many different ways. It also highlights specifically some high-impact sectors, of which buildings is one. And of course, in the Circular Economy Action Plan, talking about buildings, there is a lot of focus on life cycle, and levels plays an important role in that section as well, and it sets out actions to that regard. It also, one of the actions which I'm keen on getting started is looking at how we will be looking at how we can explore the setting of carbon targets. So a little bit setting out a roadmap for cutting carbon, also whole life carbon I'm talking about then. So that's one work stream which will come out of that. The European Green Deal also talks about the renovation wave. That one is foreseen for the autumn this year, so it doesn't have its own fancy logo yet or visual. But this is an initiative which will be greatly influenced or work in parallel with the recovery package. Thinking of Corona, the Corona situation now, pandemic crisis. So they will be closely working together. There, of course, from DG Environment, but also from other DGs, we are certainly aiming at including the life cycle circularity aspect into the renovation wave, so that we don't end up with a waste wave at the same time. Some more concrete initiatives which are happening. Sustainable finance. We have a new, or about to get a new delegated act in this area. It's taxonomy with criteria on how to define sustainable investment. In this case, it's about tackling climate change. The delegated act should be adopted by the end of this year and will come into force and implementation 1 year later. And there we are certainly also looking at how to include the disclosure of whole life carbon as a criterion for new build. Research, we have a Green Deal call coming up this autumn. This is a call under Horizon 2020, so the old framework program, which has been put together based on the objectives of the Green Deal. And there are certainly opportunities to look at circularity in buildings in that regard. We are also developing, under the new framework, research framework, which is called Horizon Europe, we are developing a new public-private partnership for the sustainable built environment, where we also are trying to, as much as possible, get a life cycle perspective. Once Levels is published, so late September, we will start to work on criteria development for green public procurement. So replacing the existing EU GPP criteria for offices with something new, which is based on levels. And we will look at offices, schools, and we will make sure that there is clear wording on renovation as well. So this is my last slide. I want to encourage you to help us green the Green Deal. Your contribution is very important in that regard. We would like to make sure that life cycle and circularity is firmly anchored into a number of the coming initiatives from the Commission, and you, especially if you are a representative of a member state and part of those member state discussions, can play an important and I would say crucial role in this regard. I'm thinking in particular about the renovation wave, sustainable finance, the public-private partnership on sustainable built environment in Horizon Europe, and of course, generally in Council conclusions. Whenever we have member state representatives pushing for life cycle in different kinds of initiatives, it makes a big difference, and that helps us a lot in our strive of really greening the Green Deal. I also recommend you to respond to the Horizon 2020 Green Deal call, which I mentioned, so that's this autumn, and try to get interesting projects related to life cycle, circularity, and buildings in there. I ask you to, once we get started with the GPP criteria development, that you support us in that work, and also when we get to start on our exploration of carbon reduction targets, that you are supporting us then. And of course, very importantly, that you are communicating heavily at the time of the levels launch on this. As I said, early autumn, we expect this. And I hope that you will be able or in a position to help us to make a lot of noise and buzz around that. Thank you very much.